All right, everyone, let's talk a little bit about our journals for the course. And what I mean by journals truly is making a diary of the materials of the course and your analysis of the materials of the course so that you can, by the time we get to the end of this class, really have a very strong understanding of the narrative of the American presidency and also be able to illustrate to yourself the evolution of that narrative via your own analysis, okay? So for the majority of these questions, there's two where you would not do this, but for the majority of them, you want to do about a 5-sentence paragraph for each one of them. Now that may seem like a lot to you, but in terms of continuity and changes, the evolution of the changes, and really how they came about, you really want to put a lot of meat into that, right? And so it's not really going to take you a lot of time because it's not a formal essay or anything like that. So it's really something where you are almost like talking to yourself, and really trying to illustrate to yourself what the main analytical points are. How did the changes in the particular area that you're looking at come about, and really create an argument for what actually happened during the period that we're looking at. So it's really something where you are creating this little diary/journal for yourself. So make sure that you're really looking at this as something where by the end of the course, you really have for each particular week and each particular era that we're looking at, that you'll have a really good set of answers to these questions that will illustrate to you really what you got out of the course, right? And it really help you, not necessarily in terms of the final paper, because it's going to be a research paper, so it's not going to help you craft that, but it really is going to help you be able to craft a good answer about the era that you're looking at in terms of your research paper. And then you'll put that together with all of the sources you have and all of the analysis you've gathered about the research topic and put it all together into that nice little package of a research paper, okay? So you'll have the historical narrative, you'll have the analysis of that narrative, and then you'll be able to put all of that into that final research paper. So in terms of all of these questions, I want to make sure that when you're writing the paragraph style questions that you actually cite them, okay? So I want you to use the MLA citation. You don't have to use Chicago style. You may want to use that for your research paper, especially for the practice. But I really want to make sure that you're citing your work, not only because obviously we should be citing all of our work, quotations, paraphrases and summaries, but also because this will help you in terms of the journal diary style of assignment, that you can actually go back and find the materials once you're done, right? So make sure you're doing the citations. You're also going to be graded on the citations, so make sure that you're actually doing them. Also, we don't have this for the first journal, but we want you to, for the rest of the journals, have responses to at least 2 of your classmates in your group. And that's really to create a dialogue between all of you, and obviously to learn from each other, but to really be able to start debating some of these topics. You don't have to agree with each other, right? Debate the topics and make sure that you are really sort of digging into it, not just in terms of your own brain and your own understanding of it, but really understanding what somebody else is saying about these topics, and then really bringing about a discussion about them, okay? And I'll be dropping in occasionally, and particularly for this session, I'm going to try to do summaries for each particular group after you're done with your journals, to kind of give you a heads up as to what you're really digging into, and did you go in far enough, or are you not quite getting the materials, and see if I can do it that way in terms of, with 100 students, it's kind of difficult to constantly be dropping in on all of the discussions. So maybe this will be a way to be able to do that, so all of you feel like I'm engaging with your work, not just in terms of the grading process, but also in terms of the actual discussion amongst all of you in terms of your journals. So you're going to be doing 2 of those each week, 2 responses each week, except for the first week. And actually, I think for this course, I dropped it for the last week too, because of how odd the last week to 2 of the course are. So check your schedule for that. Let's talk a little bit about these actual questions. The first question is about themes. So you're really just going to list those. So themes for the Kennedy era would be like the television presidency, civil rights movement, things like that, right? The Cold War. And then for the other question that you would not necessarily be writing a 5 sentence paragraph for would be creating a thesis, okay? And to create your thesis, you really want to make sure that you're making an argument for the entirety of the week's material. So what is it that was really the main point of this particular week of material, right? So you would make an argument, you would make something that you would be able to argue in terms of an essay, right? So it's really helping you to hone the craft of creating an argument for a large amount of materials, okay? So for the rest of them, you're going to be writing a paragraph. And again, you don't really have to, 5 sentences. I put this down as somewhat of a requirement, but you don't have to stick at just the 5. The point of telling you 5 is to illustrate to you that you shouldn't be writing 1 or 2 sentences, okay? These are pretty complex questions, right? So you're not going to want to write 1 sentence, 2 sentences, and just be done with it. You really want to dig in, and you really want to explain things, and this is how it's going to help you in terms of analysis of the material. So at least 5, okay? And again, this isn't hard and fast. You can go to 4, that's fine. But it really is to illustrate to you that these are complex answers that I want, okay? So the first one being here in terms of what you would use a paragraph for would be the significant continuities and changes over the period. Well, as most of us know, really the hallmark of being a historian is to look at change over time, right? And if you're not seeing change over time, then you're noting the continuities. So that's what I want you to do in terms of this material. You can also stretch it beyond the week that you're in, and say once you get to the second and third journals, sort of reaching back and illustrating to yourself, what the evolution truly is, or what things are truly staying the same over every single week. The other thing that I want you to do in terms of figuring out the changes is once you figure them out, well, how did they come about? Okay, so you got a whole other section here in terms of the journal to talk about how they actually came about. And this is another one of those answers that you really want to dig into and really explain, okay? This is also a really good one for you to be able to make an assertion about how some point of evolution came about and then stick some supporting evidence in there, okay? And that's where your citations would come in too. The most surprising thing, any of you who have taken a class from me know that I really like for you to figure out, what's the thing of the material that you've been looking at for the week? What's that thing that really sticks out in your mind? What really surprised you? And often that surprising point will actually be something that you will carry with you throughout the course and really see it in other eras too. So it's really actually a really important question for you to be looking at and really analyzing, okay? We've already looked at the argument and the idea of creating a thesis for the entirety of the material. So the last thing we have to discuss here is the featured primary source, and you can find that in each module. And what I want you to do with the primary source is to take it, read it, and then think about how it proves a particular elements of the week's material. And then when you're doing that, what you're actually going to be doing is creating an assertion about the week's material and then using the primary source as your evidence, right? And you're going to be citing it. So again, really getting you ready for the research paper aspect of the course where you have to make your own assertion and you have to back it up with significant evidence, right? And so the primary source can help you to do that. So you're really going to each week be getting practice on that. So number 1, look at your themes. Number 2, look at continuities and change. Number 3, look at how the change comes about or the evolution comes about. Number 4, look at the most surprising thing and really explain why it was surprising to you for the week's material. Number 5, look at the material for the week and create an argument about it, okay? Not about a specific section of the material, but the entirety of the material. And then for the last thing, looking at that primary source, analyzing it, creating an assertion, and then using that primary source to shore it up, okay? And really is going to be an element of the narrative that we've looked at, make an assertion about the narrative, and then use the primary source to shore it up, okay? So again, thinking about you need citations. You want to make sure that in those particular questions that need the longer paragraph, that you're really digging in and really explaining yourself, using your citations, and really looking at this as an assignment that's a great deal about analysis, but also is a great deal about you really putting together your own understanding of the narrative, your own understanding of how the narrative evolves, so that when you get to the end of the course, you're really going to have a little like workbook for yourself that's really like the core of the materials, right? Okay. So if you have any questions about this, let me know. The exact due dates are all in the course schedule. If there's anything that you're concerned about with these, let me know. And just really, again, sort of have fun with this, and really be able to, think about all of these questions that you're reading, and then really be able to illustrate to me through these journal questions that you really have examined the material, and you've really gotten your own understanding of the narrative out of that material. Okay, so good luck and take care. I'll talk with you again soon. Bye.